Picture this. It's December 1983. Martin Scorsese is riding high. In only 10 years, he's already solidified his status as a great American filmmaker with a string of classics starring Robert De Niro, including Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, and The King of Comedy, which Todd Phillips' Joker owes a debt to. Production is about to begin on The Last Temptation of Christ, a brutal dramatization of the life and death of, you guessed it, Jesus Christ. Paramount Pictures has given it the green light. Sets are constructed, and even the cast and crew are put into place. According to IMDb, actor Aidan Quinn was cast as Jesus, Sting was cast as Pontius Pilate, and Vanity was cast as Mary Magdalene. Everything is in place. Then, it all falls apart. Fundamentalist Christian groups spearhead a letter-writing campaign to condemn the movie, and from there, the controversy spreads like wildfire. Paramount shuts down the production. Disillusioned, yet determined to keep working, Scorsese seeks out his next project, which ends up being After Hours. It's a quirky, hyper-stylized exercise in genre filmmaking, with no big aspirations besides being entertaining.
That was funny.
And it's a project that reinvigorated him after the colossal disappointment of Temptation.
I was doing Last Temptation of Christ in 1983, and the film fell apart. And there'd been a kind of change in my career. In fact, the whole industry had changed, and I wasn't very happy. So in any event, I had a lawyer at the time named Jay Julian, who sent me a script from Amy Robinson and Griffin Dunn.
We get a phone call from our attorney saying that, Martin Scorsese wants to do your movie.
The Last Temptation situation obviously had been a real trauma for him, and he knew that he needed to show that he had the will to go back to his roots.
While After Hours is not considered Scorsese's ultimate masterpiece, it's definitely his most underrated. But it is appreciated by at least a handful of film buffs.
Yeah, go on. Can you hold for a moment? Kim, how about dinner and a movie tonight? I'm Scampi and Scorsese because they got After Hours on a classic movie channel.
I love that one. We'll have to see. I might need to stay late.
Okay, just let me know.
So grab your Scampi and enjoy the video.
I wonder, you think I could just crash out on the couch here for a couple hours? I am just beat.
Why don't you just go home?
Well, I've been asking myself that one all night long.
So what happened? Why can't you?
All right.
The screenplay for After Hours was written by Joseph Minion when he was a student at Columbia University, and it's unofficially based on a radio play by Joe Frank. More on that later. Once involved, Scorsese contributed his own material too. One such scene is lifted directly from a short story by Franz Kafka titled Before the Law.
May I enter?
I can't let you in at the moment.
In the story, a man attempts to go through a gateway, only to be stopped by a guardian who says that entry is possible, but just not right now.
Do not attempt to enter without my permission, says the god. I am very powerful, yet I am the least of all the gods. From hall to hall, door after door, each god is more powerful than the last.
It's a frustrating parable that touches upon the impenetrability of justice and reason.
Oh, come on. We're both adults. Why don't you just let me in?
Of course, it could also be meaningless. That's the fun of After Hours. Protagonist Paul Hackett, played by Griffin Dunn, experiences roadblock after roadblock after roadblock for no other reason than bad luck. I hate to use the term Kafkaesque nightmare to describe the movie, so instead I'll use a term coined by film scholar Leighton Grist, which is the yuppie nightmare cycle. It's defined as a Reagan-era combination of screwball comedy with film noir. It always involves a white yuppie being pulled into a world unknown to them, usually a white male by a mysterious white female.
At 2:30 on a Friday afternoon, what's about to happen to Charles is something wild.
I'm Lulu.
Charles, pleased to meet you.
After Hours is set in New York City, a common location for a Scorsese movie. There's no romanticism, it's all gloom and grit. We open with Paul at his office where he works a thankless job as a computer word processor. He's bored and listless as he goes through the motions to train a new employee who also would rather be elsewhere.
Got it? Another week, you'll have it down.
I said it's temporary anyway. I do not intend to be stuck doing this for the rest of my life.
And yes, that is Balky from Perfect Strangers.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy! Hey!
After work, Paul has a meet cute with Marcy, the mysterious female who will pull him into the yuppie nightmare. Played by a never better Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah, yeah. I think Miller's really great.
This is not a book, this is a prolonged insult. A gava spit in the face of art. A kick in the pants to truth, beauty, God. Something like that.
That's very good.
Marcy is charming, and of course, quirky.
Does that cashier seem a little weird to you? He keeps making these strange movements.
He gets her phone number and decides to meet up at her place in the Soho district.
Maybe you should come on over.
Sure. No?
Yeah?
In a cab on the way over, his last $20 bill fatefully flies out the window in a stylized sequence set to the rhythm of a Latin tango. When he arrives at his destination, Marcy's roommate Kiki greets him and throws down her keys so that he can let himself inside. Apparently, this throwing down the keys shot is something that Scorsese was very excited about.
Yeah, the key drop shot was shot twice. The very first time, the grip came up with a very ingenious device.
They had a plank with a hole in the middle of it, and the camera was looking down through this hole, and then this plank was tied to a top of the building by
bungee cords, and then dropping it so it would come down and getting that effect of dropping and then bounce back up. It was so wildly dangerous.
And it was so frightening that even Marty said, we can't do that again.
Leave it to Scorsese to make keys exciting. Marcy's roommate, Kiki, is a sculpture artist.
Lately, she's been making these plaster of Paris bagels and cream cheese. And she's trying to sell them as paperweights. Wanna buy one?
Her current piece reminds Paul of Edvard Munch's The Shriek, as he calls it. It's actually The Scream, Kiki corrects him.
Scream, right.
He notices a $20 bill plastered among the rest of the papier-mâché shreddings. This is the first of many strange coincidences.
Look, I had $20, and now...
Another example occurs shortly after, when Paul offers to give Kiki a shoulder massage.
There's no few basic moves.
Just make it hurt and you're on the right track.
He tells her a story from his childhood, when he had his tonsils removed. They ran out of room in pediatrics, he says, so they placed him in the burn unit with a blindfold, warning him not to take it off.
That night, at least I think it was night, I reached up to untie the blindfold. And I saw...
There are hints to come that Marcy may herself be a burn victim, and that freaks out Paul just as it did when he was a child. The movie is filled with these coincidences.
Yeah.
When Marcy first arrives, the two continue their flirtation, but her quirkiness soon turns erratic.
What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
You didn't just say something just now?
Before losing its charm altogether, as when Marcy reveals she's actually married and that her husband is obsessed with the Wizard of Oz.
On our wedding night, I was a virgin. When we made love, whenever when he came, he just scream out, "Surrender, Dorothy."
As the night progresses, their conversation becomes awkward and any chemistry they had fizzles away.
What's the matter?
I said, I want to see a plaster of Paris bagel and cream cheese paperweight. Now cough it up.
Right now?
Paul decides he's had enough and jets out of there. At the subway station, he discovers the fare has gone up at midnight and his remaining coins don't cover the cost. This is when his nightmare goes into full effect. On his journey to return home, he encounters a parade of oddballs played by a who's who of character actors, including John Hurd as a bartender who wants to give Paul his cab fare home before other forces intervene.
Christ. I'll give you the money.
That's all right, forget it.
Terry Garr as an oldies-loving cocktail waitress who surrounds her bed with rat traps.
Lighten up! What is this?
Catherine O'Hara as an ice cream truck driver with a bothersome sense of humor.
What is wrong with you? Are you all right?
And to top it all off, there's Cheech and Chong.
Hey, where'd you get that?
How'd they get in?
How'd who get in?
The burglars.
The burglars? What burglars?
The ones who took your sculpture and your TV set.
Neil and Peppy. Who? It was Neil and Peppy. They're friends of mine. I just sold them my television for $300.
See what happens when you pay for stuff? Somebody rips it off.
In another ironic twist, Paul inadvertently becomes a robbery suspect himself and is pursued by a vigilante neighborhood watch group.
Well, I wonder if this is our local friendly burglar.
Did you get what you wanted, or did we get back too soon and spoil your fun?
Who are you? You don't live here.
This is essentially the plot device known as the wrong man.
What's that supposed to be?
Cars waiting outside. You will walk between us saying nothing.
What are you talking about?
I mean, I just wanted to leave. You know, my apartment, maybe meet a nice girl. And now I've got to die for it?
What do you want from me? What have I done? I'm just a word processor, damn it!
Murphy's Law states that whatever can go wrong will go wrong. In Paul's case, truer words have never been spoken. The night reaches such absurd heights that even Paul can't quite fathom it. It's the kind of night where witnessing a murder is just another thing that happens.
I'll probably get blamed for that.
Desperate and now on the run, Paul ducks into a bar where he meets June, a quiet patron who nobody much pays attention to. She becomes a comforting distraction as the two of them dance solemnly to Peggy Lee's Is That All There Is? With lyrics that refer to disillusionment and disappointment, the song fits right in. Throughout After Hours, various people want to help Paul make it home, only to be thwarted by circumstance.
Now, I have every reason in the world to believe my life is in serious danger, but...
Get some sleep, buddy.
And... hello? Hello?
In this urban hell, well into the wee hours of the morning, good intentions lead nowhere, and the yuppie nightmare runs in circles.
Different rules apply when it gets this late, you know what I mean? It's like after hours.
It's no secret that after the failure of Temptation, Scorsese related to Paul's disillusionment.
I think I just got a little spooked, you know?
It fueled his desire to move on from that disappointment and find his passion for filmmaking again.
Last Temptation had actually almost fallen away when we sent the script to Marty. And he was in a very depressed state, as you are, when something you really care about has seemed to have gone away. And I think he felt very powerless. But on the last day of shooting, Marty turned to Griffin and myself and said, "Thank you for giving me back my love making movies."
About After Hours, he says, quote, "I thought it would be interesting to see if I could go back and do something in a very fast way, all style, and exercise completely in style, and to show they hadn't killed my spirit. That style is on full display with a mishmash of extreme close-ups, fast zooms, tracking shots, and his usual soundtrack mix of pop hits, classical scores, and other obscurities."
You're mine, and you'll always be. You're mine.
Griffin Dunn, who also served as a producer along with Amy Robinson, was the one who discovered Joseph Minion's student script, but it was later found out that Minion had borrowed, to put it politely, a lot of material from a radio play by Joe Frank, Lies, from 1982.
I couldn't believe that.
He met her in a deli. She was short, blonde, a little plump. They were alone, in the back, where the sandwiches were made. When it was almost time for the conversation to end, and for them to take their sandwiches and leave, she looked at him with a slight pout and said, "Do you like bagels and cream cheese?" When he said he did, she asked if he'd be interested in any bagel and cream cheese paperweights. She had a friend staying in her apartment who made plaster of Paris bagel and cream cheese paperweights, and this friend and her paperweights were getting on her nerves. The only way she could get rid of her was to help her sell the paperweight so she could afford to find her own place.
She's a sculptress. Lately, she's been making these plaster of Paris bagels and cream cheese.
Huh? Is that a coincidence? No!
Upon the movie's release in 1985, Minion admitted to lifting Frank's material and they settled out of court. He must have wisely thought that there was no way to prove parallel thinking about a bagel and cream cheese paperweight.
Do you know what this is?
No. Paperweight?
After Hours will always be known as the movie that got Scorsese fired up again. He played with visual techniques that would later show up in Goodfellas and Casino. In an interview from 2015, he remarked, "It's the only movie of mine that I can watch over and over again. It's so funny to me. Someone called it a farce of the subconscious. That's what it is, like a French farce. I just had a ball with it." With renewed fervor, Scorsese sailed through the rest of the 80s with the hit drama The Color of Money, the iconic music video from Michael Jackson's Bad, and finally, the long-awaited release of The Last Temptation of Christ, with a new cast and a new attitude.
Wow.
After Hours often gets lost in the raging bull Goodfellas sandwich of Scorsese's career. It's his only full-on comedy, albeit very dark.
You're dead, pal.
And one final positive note, it's about 2 hours shorter than The Irishman.
What are those odds?
So you can watch it comfortably in one sitting. Kinda like this video.
This is a plaster of Paris bagel and cream cheese paperweight.